Hi guys, ArchieLuxury, ArchieLuxury channel. And today guys, I would like to do a comparison. This is a very important comparison. I want to compare two Swiss watches. And I want to compare two off-the-shelf cut models that are, well, almost current models. You know, these are the sort of pieces you would pick up, a couple-year-old piece. So I've gone on to Fleabay and I've bought a very, very basic model, a very entry-level model, and I've also gone for a much more expensive Swiss model. So $300 US. What can you buy for $300 US? And let's compare that to, say, $3,000 US. So let's do a bit of a comparison. Now, the two watches I've chosen, what have I chosen to compare here? And these watches look very, very similar. They're both steel stunners. They're both white dial. There we go. We got a Tudor. No, we don't. We have a Breitling Super Ocean Heritage 42. That's the 42 mil. And we've also got a Tissot PRS 516. So two very, very usable watches. So what is the difference between the two? Now, the interesting thing is, both these pieces have so much in common. Now, they are both based on an ETA movement, the 28-24 movement. In fact, the Tissot actually uses a 28-25, which is a slight variation of the 28-24. So these are the two pieces, both gunning for punters. Now, let's begin the comparison between the two. The Tissot watch itself there, PRS 516, tie-ins to motorsport, white dial, ceramic bezel, day date, quite a steel stunner. It's a modern man's watch. It's got a display back. It's got a nice clasp, easy to access clasp on the back there. For this particular piece here, I have paid $300. I actually paid, I bought this in Australian dollars. I paid about 364 Australian dollars, which is roughly $300 US. And this piece here, it was a box and papers. This watch was originally sold in 2015, and the guy paid about just under 700 RC dollars. What's that? 700 RC? It's about, what's that? high fives US, 500 to 600 US, and I bought this on eBay. So this is a $300 US watch now. So let's compare that. It's only a couple years old, sold in 2015. So what's that? 2 to 3 years old, 2.5 to 3 years old. It's a Tissot. This is kind of the entry-level Swiss watch brand there, and stainless steel, 100 meters waterproof. It's an automatic watch there. It's kind of funky. It's got a ceramic bezel. It has the Tissot T second hand. It's got that big T there. It's quite nicely done there. Stainless steel case, stainless steel bracelet, display back, sapphire crystal. It's funky enough. Now let's compare that. Baby, to the Breitling Super Ocean. This watch here is actually just under a year old. It was bought on Fleabay. It retails in Australia for 5,700 Australian dollars. This is the Breitling Super Ocean Heritage 42mm. This is actually the Series 1. Breitling last year introduced the Series 2, the Breitling Super Ocean Heritage 2, which has the ceramic bezel as well as using an in-house shooter movement. This one here uses the ETA 2824 movement, 2824-2, high grade. This is the COSC version, which means it's the certified for accuracy version. This is a higher grade ETA movement. ETA sells at various flavors. The watch itself is a dive watch. It has a 200-meter dive rating. It has a date function, no day function, purely a date, and it also has a unidirectional bezel, so you can time yourself underwater or anything you want to time. The watch itself has a no display back. It's actually no display back, but it does have a very nice polished back. The watch itself is very, very nicely finished, and it's fitted to a Milanese shark mesh type bracelet. The bracelet's quite tastefully done. So this piece here is really quite... this piece here, as I mentioned, was 5,700 Australian dollars. That's about, what's that, 4,500 US to buy retail new. Well, I bought this here on Fleabay, and this watch would normally sell for about 3,000 US dollars. It was a box papers example in quite nice full working order. Let's compare the two. The Breitling to the Tissot. They both share a similar movement. They both are steel stunners. They both are whitey silver dial with a black bezel. Let's compare the two. Okay, the Tissot itself there, let's have a look at features and see how the two compare. They both use a variation of the Swatch Group's ETA movement, the 2824 movement. The Breitling itself there has a date function and a rotating bezel. The movement itself is also COSC certified for accuracy. The Tissot itself there uses the 2825, which is a slight variation of the 2824. If you look at the second-hand ticking, it's a slight variation where it's 3 ticks per second. This piece here itself there, it features a whitish silver dial with a black bezel. The bezel is ceramic, newer material, but it does not rotate, which is a bit annoying. The watch is also a day date. It's got a day and a date function. Okay, let's compare the two. They are roughly about 42 mil each, very similar size. How do these critters compare? How do they compare? Well, if we look at the two, we could very easily say that the Breitling has a lot more work and finish in it. The Breitling case itself there is highly polished and very, very tastefully done. We can see the legs that form the lugs are nicely carved into the steel. Whereas on the Tissot, they're rather cheap and nasty. The other interesting thing is that the Tissot is rated 100 meters, whereas the Breitling, being a super ocean, is rated at 200 meters. The Breitling features, they've both got quite big crowns. The Breitling features a 200-meter waterproofing, whereas the Tissot is 100 meters. The Breitling has a screw-in crown, whereas the Tissot does not. It's just a push fitting. If we look at the cases, we can see that both are polished on the sides, but on the top, the Tissot is matte, whereas the Breitling continues the polished look on the piece there. we can see a lot more machining, a lot more work has gone into the Breitling. If we look at the Breitling's crown itself there, it has a beautiful flamboyant B, whereas the Tissot's got a cheap and cheerful T on its side there. Both watches are no holes case lugs, which is quite tasteful. The bezel on the Tissot, as I said, is ceramic, but doesn't rotate. It's not unidirectional, it is fixed. Whereas on the Breitling itself, it is a rotating bezel. Okay, if we look at the back of the watch here, it's almost comic relief. We look at the Breitling, it's quite nicely done, highly polished with Breitling engraving on the back of the case, whereas the Tissot, it looks rather tacky with the cheap, nasty display movement for a movement which is really not worthy of display. It's easy to see that Tissot, the buyer buying this watch, doesn't really understand movements. They think any movement is fantastic. It's fantastic. Well, the reality is the movement in the Breitling is much more higher grade and higher finished, whereas the Tissot is very, very utilitarian. And that's the reason they put this horrible steering wheel motif on the back there to try and hide this pig's dinner of a movement. If we have a look at the actual crystal themselves there, they are both fairly similar. If we look at the bracelets, this is a very interesting thing here. The bracelet on the Breitling Super Ocean is quite high quality. It's a shark mesh Milanese style bracelet. Although the clasp is actually quite hard to open there. I suppose over time that may get easier. Whereas the Breitling, whereas the Tissot has a really nasty, cheap petrol station parts bin clasp on it there. This is nasty generic stuff. Nasty generic sort of stuff which you can see no extra money has been sent. When it comes to adding links onto the bracelet here, the shark mesh bracelet on the Breitling has screw-in links, and you can see these links can be easily removed, as well as additional links on both sides of the bracelet. There are also micro adjustments which can be made down the bottom there. So this can be a very, very nice fitting bracelet. On the Tissot itself there is no micro adjustment. We've got a cheap and nasty, cheap and cheerful clasp there that really looks nasty and vicious and cheap. The bracelet itself has oversized Rolex oyster style links, which it uses pins. Very, very nasty, cheap and cheerful. This is an old system of adding links, which really is quite unacceptable and cheap. It's poverty pack at its worst. Okay, so as far as it goes there, the bracelet on the Tissot is slightly easier with its deployment, but it's very badly executed. Cheap and cheerful and nasty. It's just really, really nasty. Okay, as far as the watch go, let's compare prices. The Tissot itself is $300 US on the used market for a 1 to 3 year old Tissot example in box papers condition. The Breitling Super Ocean itself there is 10 times the price. You can buy one of these on the used market on the shark mesh bracelet box papers for about $3,000 US. Is it 10 times the watch? That is a very interesting question. Is a turd if it's brown and it stinks? That is the question that must be asked. The real answer is that these are both ETA-based machines with similar movements. However, the execution on the two is very different. The Tissot is cheap, cheerful, pitching for that younger market, whereas the Breitling is looking for that middle-aged geezer who has pilfered money from the till at work or has come into a bit of money through a bit of graft. Is the Tissot 10 times worse than the Breitling? And the answer is, you bet your fucking ass it's 10 times worse. I would say it's 100 times worse. The bracelet, the execution, the design, it's all lacking. Everything about the Tissot is fucking cheap and fucking nasty. It is a fucking nasty, fucking vicious, fucking piece of shit of a watch. Whereas the Breitling itself there, you can see why it's 10 times the price of the Tissot. The Tissot and the Breitling, one combo deal for two different ends of the market. Both of these punters here may drink beer at the same boozer on a Friday, but the Breitling itself is streets and miles ahead of this nasty piece of fucking shit. The Tissot is fucking nasty. When you pay $300 US, there's a reason why it's not the same as a $3,000 watch. Everything about the Tissot is nasty, fucking vicious, and fucking cheap. You get what you pay for. Look, you lazy fucking YouTubers. Get off your fucking fat ass. Get off your fucking fat backside and go and take up a second or third job. Get the Breitling. This is a nasty, lazy piece of shit type of watch. This is a watch of failure and disgrace. This is a shitter. Whereas the Breitling is just an obnoxious geezer. A noxious geezer. That's the sort of watch it is. Look, you fucking lazy pieces of shit. You get what you pay for. You want to spend $300, you're going to get a nasty, cheap and cheerful design. You're going to get a lack of a screw-in crown, a bezel that's there purely for cosmetic reasons, a dial that's printed with no applied name brand. You're going to get a cheap and cheerful design case. You're going to get a mock fucking Tudor bracelet. You're going to get pin links. It's fucking nasty. It's mean. It's vicious. It's for cheapskates. Whereas if we go for the Breitling, we're getting a high quality wristwatch which has high design icons. We got a white gold applied indices and a Breitling logo. This piece is done tastefully and tactfully. We have a unidirectional bezel. We have very beautiful case, which is retro style to the 1957 version of the Breitling Super Ocean. We have shark mesh with complete adjustability on it there. We've got many links plus micro adjustments available on the clasp. This watch here may be 10 times the price of a fucking Tissot, but it's worth every penny. You lazy fucking shits, you get what you fucking pay for. You want to be cheap, you want to be nasty, you want to be a fucking cheapskate, you fucking get a piece of fucking generic shit. Life ain't fucking fair, life ain't easy, it wasn't fucking fair. Nothing's fucking fair in this world. You lazy, lousy pieces of shit, you fucking lazy sons of bitches. Get out there and get a second and third job, you fucking fat fucking oaf. You lazy piece of shit. Get out there and fucking upgrade that Tissot. Upgrade that Tissot. It may have the same ETA movement base, but it's a different level of ETA shitter. That is the difference between the two. I haven't even considered the packaging because I wanted to look at the nuts and bolts of this comparison exercise here. At the end of the day, you lousy pieces of shit, any watch under $1,000 fucking sucks. It sucks. It really fucking sucks. And if you're going to be cheap, you deserve the shit that fucking cheapness brings you. It's karma. You put out cheap, nasty shit, you will attract it. I'm ArchieLuxury. This is the difference between a $300 watch and a $3,000 watch. Tell me what you lazy, inept, fucking cheesel eaters think of that? Tell me. Tell me what you lousy fuckers think of that. You cheap sons of bitches. Hi guys, ArchieLuxury channel. Guys, I want to talk to you today. It's very, very important. Men cannot live on Google ads alone. I depend on your support to keep me on YouTube full time. Guys, there's a number of ways you can help me stay on YouTube producing content. Number one, you can organize a paid review. That's right. I will make a video for US $20 minimum and I will review your collection. I'll answer a question for you. So, normally takes, about 14 days, 10 to 14 days for me to make these vids. The other thing you could do to sponsor me and help me stay full-time on YouTube is sponsor me on Patreon. Patreon allows you to pay a small amount of money, like $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, anything, any amount you want over $1, you can, and it basically sends $1 each month to me. Now, you can cancel at any time if you're sick of the show or you don't like me anymore. So guys, help keep me full-time on YouTube. Paid reviews, I do. Sponsor me on Patreon, and Patreon people get advanced screening of some videos and secret videos. Not to mention, I got advertising space on the fridge. Come on, guys, keep me full-time on YouTube.
Okay.